Good morning, St. Lucia. Thank you so much for tuning in to the National Television Network Government Information Service. I am Lucia Joseph on this Thursday. It is the 24th of March, 2022. And today we're going to take a look back at some of the big events happening within the government of St. Lucia, the plans, policies of the government as it moves along with the development of the country. Topping off for us to kickstart the forensic lab. There has been so much said about St. Lucia's National Forensic Lab, and over the years there's been a persistent call from the public for the lab to be accredited, and certainly the Director of Forensic Science Services herself has also advocated for accreditation, saying that it's going to put the forensic lab certainly in a position where it can do many things and provide services not just within the local jurisdiction, but regionally, internationally as well. And certainly it would be a stamp of approval internationally for the lab. And so that accreditation process is just near its end. And there was a team here on island that came in, got the evaluation done. Let's get in the full details about that in this report. St. Lucia's Forensic Laboratory has taken a significant step in its journey to accreditation, a journey which began in 2018. The Forensic Lab has completed the first phase of an ISO 17025-2017 audit. The audit was conducted by the American Association for Laboratory Accreditation, A2LA, headquartered in Maryland, USA. 3 assessors were on island for the process. Fernanda Henry is the Director of Forensic Science Services.
Tracy Ray, who was our lead assessor, and she looked at our drug chemistry section. Pamela Jarman, who is a biologist by profession, and she was assessing our biology unit to include body fluid identification, and she also got to see our intended DNA operations. And John McCullough, John is a firearms expert. And so John was here to look at our procedure that we implemented to restore serial numbers. It's called serial number restoration. So we want to include all of those services, all of those testing activities on our scope for accreditation.
16 findings have been presented by the assessors in a color-coded format, which defines what remedial actions are necessary.
Green findings means that there are easy fixes. Yellow findings, have some sort of implication for our quality management system, and red findings have a financial implication. We classified only 2 red findings, which again they were not onerous. We're excited to remediate, to put our corrective action into place so that we can change review our documents as required to submit our responses to those findings. Once we submit our responses, then the Accreditation Council will vote on for or against our accreditation.
The Director of Forensic Science Services says this just completed assessment is a testament to the ability of the staff. Ms. Henry hailed the dedication and the commitment of the scientists, even when COVID-19 threatened to derail the process.
Our quality manager, Joy Quinlan, started putting documents together, cognizant of the requirements of the standard. We started drafting documents and getting the units to start looking through their procedures to ensure that all of the components required for compliance were in there. Then COVID hit, and of course, it threw all of us into a whirlwind. We went over to the Ezra Long Laboratory to train them on PCR testing, since it was a technology that we already did at the lab, having conducted DNA analysis here. And it was after that, our experiences there, that we really decided to go full throttle into our quality management system.
The Forensic Lab is working on completing validation for DNA analysis. The next step is the submission of documents for off-site review, given that the assessors have already evaluated the operations of the lab. Once the assessor has reviewed the documents, The forensic lab will be able to add DNA analysis to the scope of accreditation. Forensic scientist Tracy Ray is the lead assessor.
Forensic laboratories, it's really important to have that accreditation because you want that standard of excellence. You want to show that you are improving your system, that you're doing everything possible to provide the correct results to your customers, to law enforcement, to the court systems. So a lot of laboratories, they don't go and get accredited right away because they got to make sure that everything works how it should. And then they work through that process of getting accredited.
The team of assessors is due back on island in 1 year for a surveillance visit to ensure that all remedial works identified in the findings have been undertaken. From the Government Information Service, Lucia Joseph reporting. Certainly good news there. And the accreditation of the lab also comes at a time when we on island were dealing with spiraling rate of crime. And the forensic lab over the years has played a key role in helping in the prosecution of cases in St. Lucia. And to the director for forensic sciences says that she is certainly looking forward to the lab doing more to be able, especially in the DNA aspects, to be able to help the police to solve a number of cases and that you can get convictions once the accused have gone before the courts and get those convictions going. Now let's move on to further infrastructural development. The community of Ancillary, or rather the constituency of Ancillary, they are being exposed to new opportunities because of roadworks taking place within that constituency. Let's go in for the full details on that. Residents of Ancillary are earmarked to benefit from a $12.25 million rehabilitation project of the Venus Ancillary Link Road. The project, funded by the European Union, is being managed and executed through the World Bank's Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, the DVRP. The road was severely damaged in 2013 following the passage of the Christmas Eve trough. In 2016, the European Union committed to financing its repair under the St. Lucia Post-Trough program. Speaking at the sword-turning ceremony, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development and Youth Economy, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, noted the importance of the project to the community.
And the opening of these 12 kilometers of road will open up a whole vista of opportunity for the people of Ancillary economies, agriculture, a whole vista of opportunity. So it is significant that we are doing that today, and also will help us. And I know in the philosophy of building back better, this road is going to be built better, so the effect of climate change can be minimized. So it's a very significant project at a very significant time.
The scope of works includes drainage upgrades, culverts, pavement reconstruction, slope stabilization, retaining walls, and landscaping. Claudius Emmanuel is the Permanent Secretary in the Department of Economic Development and National Authorizing Officer.
The design consultant on the project was Teams Incorporated, which completed the designs after a period of stakeholder consultation and no objection from the World Bank. In keeping with the competitive tendering process, the contract for the execution of the works was awarded to Construction and Industrial Equipment Limited, CIE. The contract was signed on February 16, 2022, with site possession being February 24, 2022. The duration of the contract is 12 months, with a planned completion date of February 24, 2023. The supervising consultant is Teams Incorporated, who emerged out of a competitive tendering process.
Minister for Infrastructure, Ports, Transport, Physical Development and Urban Renewal, Honorable Stephenson King, noted that maintaining the national road network is critical to sustaining economic activity. Moreover, ensuring St. Lucian involvement in the project, the senior minister said, builds capacity in country as government seeks to open up the local economic space.
A St. Lucian contractor which has over the years provided the kind of quality work in this country, and one that I believe will deliver and maintain the reputation and the performance which he has given to the people of this country over the years. This road project is expected to impact 400 households and will reopen the area to agriculture, which is the predominant economic activity in the area. But I believe it will do even more than just opening up to agriculture as we begin to position ourselves for the community tourism program.
The European Union ambassador to the OECS, Her Excellency Malgorzata Waskilaska, reiterated the European Union's commitment to supporting government's ambitions to reduce the island's vulnerability to climate change.
The European Union therefore stands as a ready partner to support St. Lucia's progressive national climate agenda to chart the way forward in addressing these challenges. We look forward to the long-awaited opening of this link road, to the start of the work at the PI Bridge, and to our continued partnership in the future towards building back better.
Parliamentary Representative for Ancillary Canneries and Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Youth Economy, Honourable Wayne Girard, says the link road will not only improve motorability, but elevate the standard of living for residents.
There has been great anticipation for this project. Not only have successive studies by and through the Ministry of Infrastructure highlighted the worsening conditions of the road, the inadequacy of the hydraulic capacity of the drainage infrastructure, climate risk, and vulnerabilities. The anecdotes from constituents are very present. The constituents know all too well from their experiences what it is to traverse deteriorating road conditions. Through their experience, they have learned that roads are the arteries through which the economy pulses. This road links farmers to their markets, workers to their jobs, students to their schools, and the sick to hospitals.
12.4 kilometers of road will be rehabilitated, directly impacting 400 households. From the Government Information Service, Lucia Joseph reporting. And now on to the education sector. You know, for years we've been talking about the common entrance examination, the stress it brings to bear on the students, on the parents, perhaps the sort of unfairness and equity with the exam itself. And there had been a lot of discussion about replacing the common entrance examination with something that would perhaps give a true reflection of a student's performance. And that is now coming to pass. The common entrance exam is now being replaced come this May. We get in the details from Daniel Dubois from the Ministry of Education.
St. Lucia will join the rest of the region as it adopts the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, CPEA, as its new secondary placement examination for primary school students. Designed by the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, the exam is student-focused, granting students the opportunity to be assessed throughout their final year in primary school and entering the exam with 40% of their final grade. The focus is on developing competency in critical literacies, with a sharper emphasis on skills across thematic areas such as mathematics, language, civics, and science. Registrar of Examinations Carmelita Matthew says that the exam will allow students to engage in a blended assessment, allowing them to work towards their final score throughout the school year. This, she says, will take away the anxiety of the big day and also allow students to focus on core competencies and not content.
This examination is very helpful to the student in that it provides them with an avenue for growth throughout the year, preparing them for secondary school education, and also it gives them that ability to be more assertive, and also to know that they are going into the examination room with some marks already, because it's 40% for the internal component and 60% for the external component. So parents have been providing assistance. And yes, with everything new, we always have hitches and so on. But I think we are satisfied right now with the way that we are moving, and that the students will perform to their best.
The modality of the exam will be quite different, as testing will take place over a course of 2 days, following the CXE regional schedule. May 12, 2022, students will write mathematics and social studies, and on May 13th, language and science, with none of the exams being longer than 1 hour and 15 minutes. The Registrar of Examinations says that CXE will collate the composite score of students, and assignment of students to secondary schools will follow the same guidelines of the past.
So the assignment of students to secondary schools will be done by St. Lucia. Okay, our IT unit will be assisting us. When we receive the grades from CXE, we will be doing the assignments. So students have already chosen their schools, and we will be using that to make the assignments. So our IT technical officers, they have done our assignments previously, and they will be engaged in it this year.
The Department of Education, Innovation and Vocational Training thanks all stakeholders for being part of the transition, noting that the implementation was tedious, especially on the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic. This primary group of students will be the first to be assessed and write the CPEA examination. The Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment was introduced to replace the National Common Entrance Examination for the first time in 2012 throughout the region. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology and Vocational Training, I am Danielle Dubois reporting.
And I'm sure with this development, a lot of people within the education sector breathing a little sigh of relief. A lot believe that the continuous assessment aspect would bode well for students. And still within education, we are going to move across to the Babonneau Primary School, where they've received some help from corporate citizen Sagicor with the school feeding program and so much more.
The Babonneau Primary School is over 95 years old with a current population of 130 students. According to staff, the school decided to launch its first greenhouse project about 11 years ago out of a need to help support its school feeding program, but it was eventually destroyed by hurricane. With the advent of COVID-19, the acting principal, Tessa Bartlett, felt it was necessary to get the project back up and running and reached out to Sagicor, who was more than happy to assist.
We've done several projects with schools in the past, and the reason is that our company, part of our vision is to improve the lives of the people in the communities in which we operate. And we see the youth as the driving force of most communities, and therefore our team is very, very committed to working with groups, schools, where young people are involved to try to help them as best we can.
The school plans on planting a variety of vegetables, including lettuce, tomatoes, sweet peppers, and cucumbers in the first stage of the project.
The greenhouse will be funding our school feeding program. Again, we have to be producing and preparing vegetables, things that we produce locally for our students. So one way of alleviating the cost is that we will be growing it our own. Also, what we don't use at the school, it will be sold to some organizations that would purchase from the school at cost. So that is also going to help us with bringing funds to the school to support some of our other programs.
According to the principal, the current feeding program caters to 50 students on a daily basis. But when the project is complete, a lot more students can look forward to eating affordable, nutritious meals at school, as Sagicor has agreed to sponsor both the greenhouse and the school feeding program.
We know that families would have been adversely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, it would have, of course, impacted their ability to provide for their children and ensure that they have packed lunch bags for school. And Sagicor saw this as an excellent opportunity to provide warm meals to the less fortunate students of the Babonneau Primary School.
The Babonneau Primary School is working closely with officials from Sagicor to ensure that the project will be completed and ready for cultivating by April of this year. From the Government Information Service, Lucia Joseph reporting.
Great stuff there for the Babino Primary School. Now, we celebrated, it was Oral Health Day, week, and the Comfort Bay Senior Citizens Home, they welcomed the donation of supplies, groceries, and dental treatments for residents. Fidel Neptune from the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Elderly Affairs tells us more about that.
As part of its oral health activities, the Dental Services Unit within the Ministry of Health recently visited the Comfort Bay Senior Citizens Home and provided dental treatment to the residents of the facility. Senior dental surgeon in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sherry Ephraim Lacotte, says she is very pleased that the unit can provide this service to the elderly.
This is the beginning of a lot more to come now that Elderly Affairs is associated with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. This is the launch, this is the beginning of a series of activities the Dental Services Unit will be conducting throughout the year. We're hoping to replicate this venture at all the other elderly homes.
Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, the Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, praised the initiative and says he looks forward to seeing more activities of this kind.
I'm very pleased, very happy to be here this morning with you. And I continue to say it is activities like this one which bring me the greatest pleasure, because it is always good to see you continue to do work in the field, in the communities. I know you have been doing it, but I really love the way you're focused. You have recognized without anybody prodding you that we have elderly affairs in our ministry now, and so right away you jumped on board to say, okay, let's focus on oral hygiene at the elder care homes.
Manager of the Comfort Bay Senior Citizens Home, Nadia Setaj, says she's extremely grateful for the donation and gesture and says it will help tremendously.
I take it as a gesture of a welcome to the Ministry of Health, and it is greatly appreciated. It is timely and necessary. We thank you also for the partnering companies like Peter & Company and the Millennium Heights Complex for your donations, your gifts. Each will be used to help edify spiritually, emotionally, or nutritionally benefit our residents.
The Comfort Bay Senior Citizens Home received a donation of supplies from the Millennium Heights Medical Complex, Peter & Company Distribution, and other organizations. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, I am Fidel Neptune.
Thank you so much, Fidel, for those details. On now to the tourism industry, and quite recently a new marketing plan, a strategy was launched, and really looking at the smaller properties across the island, bringing them all together under the brand Connexion de Pépites. Let's take in some of the highlights from the official launch.
The Ministry of Tourism and the St. Lucia Tourism Authority are happy to have the Vacation Rental Association represented here tonight. We are indeed proud to showcase the finest in a journey of discovery of over 400 special gems strewn throughout the island. At this time, I invite none other than Ms. Deepa Gidhari of the Ministry of Tourism to tell you a little more about our special gems.
Over the years, the formal accommodation sector has grown significantly through the tremendous support of the Ministry of Tourism by way of incentives. And this has been characterized by the growth of all of the all-inclusive properties. The hosting of Cricket World Cup in 2007 provided an opportunity for locals to invest in the accommodation sector through the special sunset legislation in an effort to accommodate the much anticipated stayover arrivals for the Games. Such a policy position saw an increase in the number of registered small properties opening up for business. Our tourism industry was severely impacted by the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, but thanks to some very strategic thinking and the collaborative efforts of the various agencies and ministries, a phased reopening approach was used to revive the tourism industry. One such move was the registration of all tourism stakeholders with the Ministry of Tourism and participation in the process of gaining COVID-19 compliance certification. This exercise led to the reality that the number of properties originally thought to have operated were far greater and that they are spread island-wide. Today, the Ministry of Tourism has certified 391 small properties for the resumption of business. Such a significant number certainly needed more attention from a policy perspective, and as such, the need to market the small properties under a brand became evident. We take this opportunity to congratulate the ministry in changing the landscape of tourism through the passing of the Community Tourism Act last week, which will provide more opportunities for development of small properties within the communities, at galleries, parks, sites and attractions, to name a few. The Ministry of Tourism is also pleased to have partnered with the St. Lucia Tourism Authority in making the new brand a reality. With the reopening of the tourism industry, the Ministry of Tourism saw significant growth in the small properties subsector. And as such, it was felt that these small, medium enterprises be branded in an effort to boost image, improve quality, and improve sales and arrivals to our shores. The St. Lucia Tourism Authority dedicates a significant amount of resources marketing our destination overseas as one which is unique, high quality, value for money, and this supports our statement in the St. Lucia Tourism Strategy and Action Plan 2020 to 2030, which states, St. Lucia will consistently achieve above average growth in high-value sustainable tourism. To achieve a high-value sustainable tourist destination, the Ministry of Tourism plays its role by ensuring that the product is one of high quality and meets both national and international standards. Our standards for this new brand were developed through the revision of entry requirements developed under the Caribbean Experiences brand, which was part of an OAS STEP program, and the CrossQ approved national minimum standards for accommodation. To participate in this new program, small properties, meaning those with under 35 rooms, will be required to be COVID-19 compliant in accordance with the COVID-19 Act number 74 of 2020 and successfully complete an onboard survey which assess the prospective applicant against the general entry requirements outlined in the St. Lucia National Standards number 22 of 2012, Part 1, Specification for Tourist Accommodation. These entry requirements include legal and general requirements, physical requirements, general and safety requirements, requirements for public areas, and requirements for private areas. Once the successful applicant has met these qualifying criteria, the property will be listed into the program and on the St. Lucia Tourism Authority's website. It is important to note, however, that there will be continuous spot checks on the ground to ensure that the information provided in the onboard survey is what obtains. There will be continuous monitoring of participants who register in the program, and some of these monitoring mechanisms include guest comments or complaints of the property, its management practices, its services rendered, non-compliance with appropriate licenses and permits, to name a few. Where a participating small property is found in default, we will work with that property, but in the event that a property fails to make the necessary upgrades, it will be delisted. Tourism stakeholders are all too aware of the price to be paid when a company's image is negatively impacted. Therefore, participants will be required to uphold their end by ensuring that their product continuously meets the fully fledged standards set within this program. It is important to note that this is a precursor to the community tourism brand, and that our ministry will work with the relevant agencies to encourage further development of locally owned properties, thereby encouraging the spirit of getting more visitors to come to the community camp, increasing the visitors' experience and distribution of wealth. The Ministry of Tourism therefore looks forward to working with its sister agency and the participants in making this initiative a successful one. I thank you.
Thank you. And we have a short video now that we're going to show you that embodies, hopefully, the soul of the brand. Your perfect place. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Colette, for this wonderful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, as you just saw, Collection de Pépite.
The global industry is opening up, and this is so timely for St. Lucia as we adding this new product, this new element, this new strategy for our global market. Competition is what drives tourism. And competition is what will fuel this program for St. Lucia. And competition, along with our energy, along with our zeal, along with our dedication to promote St. Lucia, is what will drive us further into establishing this extensive personal brand that we have launched today called Collection de Pépite. So my chairman says, and he says he hates acronyms. So if anyone comes up today and say CDP, please. My chair hates acronyms. So I would like you to join me, and please, if you're going to go out and help us sell and market this program and this new brand launch, it's called Collection de Pépite. Please don't use CDP. It's Collection de Pépite. And we are really happy tonight that we are joined, and is she around? We are also joined by our French representative who came all the way from Martinique today. Please join me, Annie. So Annie is instrumental in the brand. And Chris is going to speak with Annie later, but I just wanted to introduce Annie. Chris is going to mention her later. But it's also, as you notice, and Colette mentioned about the French influence of the brand. Because as you know, St. Lucia also, we have our French history. And a lot of what sells in the global market is your distinction. And this distinction about having this French heritage, this Creole heritage, stands us apart from all our competitors. And today I'm really proud to launch and to endorse this program for the global market, because as we go into market tomorrow with this program, we will be distinctive, we will be different, we can offer something unique.
For me, it's a really special occasion to launch the collection tonight. And the reason why is because, and I want you to reflect upon it, why do we want to have a successful tourism industry in St. Lucia? Of course, there'll be individuals who will make money as entrepreneurs, investors, but there must be a deeper reason why we want to have a successful tourism industry. We want a successful tourism industry because we want to create sustainable livelihoods for our people. That's essentially what it is all about. For other people, there'll be other reasons. But from a public policy perspective, it's about creating sustainable livelihoods for our people. But how do you create sustainable livelihoods in an industry such as this? First of all, your people must accept it. Secondly, your people must participate in it. And thirdly, your people must own it. And if you start reflecting on those three core principles, you can start appreciating why this collection is so important. Because it represents an opportunity for our people to participate and to own the tourism industry. It cannot be sustainable if our people cannot see their reflection in it. And therefore, this is what, most importantly, it offers. And I think it has to be sustainable. And for it to be sustainable, our people must accept it. And I will say a few words on this a little later on. So when this was first presented to me, I did ask for some further reflection on it, some further refinement. Why? Because it had to fit in this perspective of what we want the tourism industry for. And in many ways, I believe we've probably reached a point where it fits nicely in our overall thrust in this tourism industry. And that is to move away from a predominance of resort-based experiences. For too long, and if you reflect on it, our Tourism Incentives Act, our legislative framework, is really geared towards accommodation and large accommodations. The marketing has been geared towards promoting St. Lucia, largely, not totally, on resort-based experiences. And we needed to start that shift. And you would have heard from, I think, Colette earlier on, who spoke about the need, how it came about. But maybe there is something about the coincidence and the beauty of coincidences, because that process of certification for COVID that brought forward all those properties that needed support was really showing us a pathway for the future for our tourism industry. And by having these properties and marketing them as an experience in St. Lucia, we've added value to our tourism product. And I think it fits in nicely. And I'm one who believes that you must always build on the successes of the past. You don't always have to come in and believe the past was all bad and you needed to get rid of it. You really need to reflect on it and see the value and the strengths of it and how you can refine it and make it fit in what you want to achieve. And this fits in nicely. Only last week we launched the Community Tourism Bill. Well, it's now an act. And in there is another product. This one speaks of finding the right place. The community tourism is about finding the right solution, authentic experience. It's really going to focus on how we can sell to the world authentic solution experiences in the various communities, the basket weaver, the bar, the restaurant, the accommodation. Whatever it is that speaks of an authentic solution experience, it will fall under the community tourism bill. And therefore, when you add this, you can now understand the range of options St. Lucia will be presenting. So I think this is an excellent addition, and for all the hard work that has been done in the past and presently, I think we should applaud every single one that has taken us to this point where we are. I am told the first level of support that will be given is for collective marketing, to promote it, to sell it to the world as a distinctive St. Lucian experience, a distinct St. Lucian brand. I think we need to reflect on how we can offer more for this particular collection and to show that it is more than just the marketing and the branding. We have to be able to give it more support and to ensure its success. And I think the team will have to examine further how we can offer more than just branding and marketing of the collection. So as we continue to examine the tourism industry and how to make it more sustainable and to bring more benefit for our people, to create more ownership for our people, we've started over the last few days a review of the incentives and concessions framework in St. Lucia that is really through two primary legislative instruments. We have started reviewing it, and some of you have participated in those consultations, and I want to encourage you to continue to participate, where we can now come up with a Tourism Development Act that broadens the scope for St. Lucians to participate in the tourism industry, to really move away from the predominance of the accommodation sector and resort experiences to other experiences, the dive sectors, the transportation sector, to make it world-class and to ensure that St. Lucia can offer a product that is total, that is holistic, and really meets those standards that we speak of. So tonight, I certainly want to applaud everyone that has worked to make this a success. And for hosting us here tonight, I want to say a special thank you to our host. It's a fantastic place that you have here, and I'm sure everyone will agree with that. So we want to thank you for hosting us tonight. The CEO spoke about, St. Lucia is opening up, the world is opening up. Just looking at some of you tonight, you can see things have changed. You can see. And I can tell you, for some of us, now that we have no confinement or curfews, it means greater latitude to stay up late at night. And I even heard today there's an announcement that Rosalie Friday night will resume. I can tell you for a fact that we will have Carnival this year, God willing, in July. So the world is opening up, and there's an urging out there for people to travel once again, to visit places, and St. Lucia must be ready. Even before I became minister, a lot of hard work had been done to open up St. Lucia and to strategically position ourselves. We will continue that work. We will make even greater efforts to make sure that St. Lucia is successful in the years to come. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Let's enjoy tonight, and let's continue to support the Collection des Pépites. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, and I invite you to remain at the podium. We present this certificate to Vacation Rental Association on the commemoration of the official launch of Collection des Pépites, dated the 16th day of March 2022. I present the Minister to present to you.
The Vacation Rentals Association was formed in June of 2020. And I think what really prompted the formation of the association was the intention of the government to pass two bills in Parliament at the time, in that same month. I think it was the Tourism Levy Act and the St. Lucia Tourism Authority Amendment Act. The Amendment Act was to enable the SLTA to become a revenue collection agency. And of course, the tourism levy was introduced to collect, of course, as it says, a levy from various properties operating in the accommodation sector. Of course, there were some components in the bill at the time which rubbed many accommodation providers the wrong way. I will not go into detail at this time. I think many of you would know. And so the bill in its form at the time, had to be taken back and reformulated to become more acceptable to operators in the sector. Now, I saw that the collection of PPT speaks to properties in 35 rooms and under, which is a bit surprising to me because I'm thinking of properties 5 rooms and under. And I'm saying this because I think the existing legislation, the Tourism Incentive Act, speaks to only properties with 6 rooms and above being able to access incentives. So I thought the 35 was a bit out there. And I'm saying this also because the majority of our membership, which now stands in excess of 250 members, representing over 1,000 rooms on the island, I think the majority would be 3 rooms or thereabouts. But you do have persons owning 1 room, an apartment and so forth, and I'd like to mention some names. And if you have not visited these properties as yet, please do so. We have City Oasis in Arundel Hill in Marsha, a superhost, which means they have met top quality standards consistently for several months. That's Arundel Hill in Marsha, might be surprising to some of you. We have Michael's Place in Balata. We have Sunny Palm Villas in Labrie, which was here tonight. So the collection does not also only speak to the luxury properties, but quite a range spread out over the entire island. Admittedly, the concentration of properties is in Grosile, Soufrière, and Labrie. But I think with the advent of community tourism, which the minister spoke to earlier on, we would like to see the spread of the accommodation sector throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia. We have some communities that are underserved. I think the districts of Dennery, Meakwood, I think Ancillary, Canaries, because I think they have nuggets in all of those communities that visitors can access. Certainly in Canaries, we have the, how you call it, is it Caco St. Lucie, if I'm not mistaken? It's an experience that visitors would, I haven't done the visit yet, and I'd love to at some point, but each community has its own nugget that visitors can enjoy. You know? So for the last 2 years, I've spent quite a bit of time onboarding a lot of new owners onto the vacation rental ladder, and you can see the joy on their face when they get that first booking, and when that first booking translates into an actual stay at the property, and when that stay translates into a deposit into the bank account via wire transfer. It's such a, it's such a pleasurable experience, yeah? In addition to what I get from my own properties as well. So I'd like to dedicate this plaque to the rest of the board of the Vacation Rentals Association, who've worked tirelessly on a volunteer basis to really get the properties on board, to get them certified, bring up the standards as much as possible, and I know there's more work to be done, and so this is dedicated to them. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Leos. And just to show I'm not to use the acronym, I remember that, Chairman. Our collection de pépite properties, what the certificate will look like once you have been endorsed into the program. This is what your certificate, or should we say your accreditation, will be. So we invite everyone to sign up, complete that survey, and get on board. Thank you.
And I hope you enjoyed the details there of the collection de pépites and this new brand added to the marketing tools there for the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. That's where we come to the end of the morning update for this Thursday. I am Lisa Joseph. See you next time.